We can start. All right, welcome everybody to the April 8th edition of the Cluster API meeting. Just as a reminder, this project is under SIG Cluster Lifecycle. We have a meeting etiquette. In the participant list, you can find your raise hand feature. I will keep monitoring the chat and the participant list. So if you have something that you want to add or reply to some questions, like feel free to raise hand. We have, this is 15. We have like a small agenda today. So I want to take a minute to like welcome any new participant. And if you want to say hi, I will mute now and you can introduce yourself.
Hi, Prakash here. This is related to a discussion topic which I think Rodolfo had entered on behalf of Airship, and I would like to bring that to table at some point when it's time. Thanks.
Okay, you can add that to the discussion topics here, and then we can get to it later. Anybody else? All right. We have some few PSAs. I wrote the first one. So this is like a more like a request for comments from the whole community. And this is a PR that updates our roadmap in the book. We have had like a lot of like feedback on V1 Alpha 3. So I would like to propose that like for the next time frame, next quarter, given also like everything that's going on with COVID-19, etc., we focus on V1 Alpha 3 plus, I guess like we're calling it that, for the June-July timeframe. This will give us a way not only to like kind of do more bug fixes, but also to add features that are backward compatible. So we will add new features, and like I try to get the milestone that we currently have for 03X in the issues and link kind of like the proposal or the bigger issues. One thing that I wanted to point out, I also added this end-to-end test plan, which is a spreadsheet. And this is a public spreadsheet. And we started like kind of like typing down like which scenarios we want to test, what are the subtests for these scenarios, and what are the expected results. So if you're an infrastructure provider, bootstrap provider, or a user, please take a look at this. And we wanted to get most of these tests done in the 03X timeframe so that we can like become a stable project and a robust project. Any questions on the test plan? Okay. Other things to note, like we have some more testing focus, so enable webhooks in tests. This is probably like a larger issue that we'll have to tackle in multiple pieces. We have a few on KCP adoption. I know New Relic folks have already a PR open. It just needs another review. So if you're interested in reviewing it, please do. Robustness, there's a whole plan in this issue. Please take a look and provide feedback. There's a few experiments here for cluster cuddle templating. Definitely take a look at the issue. We kind of went back and forth on here. Cert Manager lifecycle is a tricky one. We need like probably like to reach out to Cert Manager project to like make sure that we're doing the right thing. Then we have another experiment for post-apply. This is like when you have a cluster, how can you tell Cluster API, hey, I want to apply this chunk of YAML, which could be your CNI, your CSI, et cetera. What else do we have? Support for control plane node machine health check. We have been having like quite a bit of a discussion on this one, how should we implement it. But yeah, like this is definitely something that like we would like to see it done for Alpha 3 timeframe. Remote workload cluster watcher. This is a great feature that like I think Joel and Andy are still working on. There's a PR open for this. So this is like, imagine you have a management cluster. You want to watch like a workload cluster node. this package will let you watch the remote cluster in your local manager. So at that point, you can get like notifications, for example, if your node flips from not ready to ready or ready to not ready, or it goes away, and other things like that. Conditions, we need a lot of work to be done on this. It can be done in V1 Alpha 3 timeframes. If you have experiences or you want to provide feedback on what you would like to see in a condition, please add your comments to these issues. Spot instance support, I think, did this PR, the proposal merge, Joel, or still open? Not yet? Okay, yeah, so like, there is a PR open. I think it was almost ready. Like, I think we just need some approvals and things like that. Machine bootstrap failure detection. This is kind of going to be probably a tricky one. We need like some support from infrastructure providers, machine health check, and it needs a proposal pretty much. Load balancers. This is probably going to be a little bit of a stretch unless we can find more people to work on it. But this is pretty much to have like a way to have pluggable load balancers and a primitive type for Cluster API to understand load balancers. And then extensible machine pre-delete hooks. I think, so this issue that it's linked here, it's kind of more specific, but we would like to have like more like generic hooks at some point. This also needs a full proposal, probably. Questions, comments, concerns? Does this look okay? Or El Nico? Mike?
Yeah. Hey, thanks, Vince. I guess I had kind of pinged you on Slack, but I guess I'm trying to understand like what type of topics would fit best into the roadmap, because we have a few issues we're working on in the autoscaler that directly relate to Cluster API, and like as I said in the issue, like I'd love to get more visibility on what's going on there. So I'm curious, like, does it make sense for us to kind of cross post that stuff into this roadmap? You know, I'm just curious.
Yeah, no, it does. I mean, it is related to Cluster API. Like, I mean, I don't know if we need like any code changes, maybe like some minor ones, but we'll definitely need some documentation, right? And like, because this feature will be supported and like a lot of people have asked for it. So there's great interest. So yeah, I would add it. I asked for like an issue that I can link to. So like we can just pop that one in. And yeah, we can track it in the issue.
Yeah, very cool. I'll update my comment on the issue you put up here, or the pull
Sounds
request.
good.
Sorry.
Any other question on the roadmap? And how do we feel about it? Do we feel okay? I saw a +1 from Daniel. A lot of stuff to do. Okay, I think then you have the next item on the agenda. So I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. Yeah, just a quick update. V1 Alpha 3 blog post is that's it. That's the preview. There's a pull request. It's being reviewed by the Kubernetes blog team right now. You know, if anybody has last minute comments, please leave them on the pull request. Yeah, I want to say you know, thank you to everybody who gave feedback. Wouldn't have been possible, you know, to write this without your feedback, without your help. And yeah, that just wanted to update that. So I think it will be, you know, it should be published in the next few days, depending on I guess when the 118 blog posts will sort of make it through the queue.
Thank you. And yeah, like 100% like a great work. This looked great. Like I did a few passes as well. Dear shared also like a shout out to you. So thank you. Any questions for Daniel? All right. The next item on the agenda is general questions. This is just like a space for everybody. Like if you're new, you're implementing your provider, feel free to ask any questions, like small or big, it doesn't matter. Like we're here, we want to help. So I'll just like stop, and if anybody wants to raise their hand or like unmute, like feel free to do so. Mike, did you have a question as your hand is still raised?
No, I'm sorry, I left it up.
Okay. Okay. I don't. Oh, Prakash. Yes.
Yeah, Prakash here. So, is it related to discussion topics? Can we go there, or still we have something on demo and POCs?
We don't have anything to demo and POCs.
Okay.
I think we can just go to discussion topics.
So
if
what
that's
I
okay.
have done is this question was entered by Rodolfo, who is the airship architect. We had been asking questions on specifics last 2 weeks, and then I concurred with them. The advice you give that you go ahead and use just whatever cluster API provides 0.3, now probably 0.4, whatever comes the latest, we'll pick up and we'll go use that. So whatever substitutions and whatever layered we have to work through, customize, we'll do that. So that is resolved right now. So this question is, if we have a cluster and if that cluster has Kubernetes, which is some version X, and then we have to move to version Y, how does cluster API handle that? Is it underneath? Because cluster API is obviously committed to using Kubernetes API, correct? If I am right. If that's the case, if the Kubernetes itself is changed, the updates occur, does it handle that, or what does it do? That's the question. Is it the responsibility of cluster API to update the Kubernetes components which configures and runs in the cluster? That's the question which he asked me.
Yeah, so like some clarification, like taking a step back, like cluster API right now like works with the assumption that your infrastructure is immutable. I understand it's like a big statement, but we are working towards like to get immutable infrastructure there first, and then like for mutable infrastructure, that's like a separate topic, and like we kind of defer that for now.
So is the mutable infrastructure a major, and it will go only to 4.x rather than 0.
No, then so with regard to with this question, as I read it, like is it the cluster API responsibility to update Kubernetes components of a running cluster? The immediate answer is no, it's not, and like we don't. That's like actually something that like a kubeadm operator could do. There is a proposal out. If somebody can link it here, Fabrizio, could you link it in here? Maybe like there's a proposal.
Sure.
I don't. Thank you. So it's not necessarily the role of CAPI to do that for mutable infrastructure. So that means like what I mean by that is like you have a running machine that's running 116.2, and you want to update the same running machine to 116.4. Cluster API can't do that today. What we can do though is to replace it. So we create a new machine with a new version and remove the old machine. And this is how like machine deployments works, and KCP works as well. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it. I think fair enough. So there is a workaround. It may not be immutable, but you have a way of getting it migrated as a workload.
Yes, yeah. We use the word replaced, so like replace a machine with a newer one.
Okay, fair enough. I think that answers the question. I don't think I have anything more than that, because that justifies. The reason is because we will have Airship 1.0 running on some Kubernetes and then 2.0 in some other. So the migration has to address this portion. If we do migrate, then we have to include the replacements as part of this
Yeah,
immutable infrastructure.
yeah, Cappy will replace it for you.
Got it. Thank you. Thank you for that. I appreciate it. No more questions.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion topics before we go in triage issues?
So can I continue asking one more question? If we go from 0.3 to 0.4 as we have, is there any major change, or it has?
What is 0.3 and 0.4?
So I'm talking about the V1 alpha. That is the YAML file you use for the entire cluster API. So we said we are moving from 0.3 to 0.4. That's what in the cluster API I see. 0.3 to 0.4.
So Alpha 2 has been now replaced with Alpha 3. Like we are using Alpha 3, and for the next cycle, I open a pull request to propose that like we continue on Alpha 3 until June, July, and then maybe do Alpha 4 later. Like we'll see, like what we have to build.
So Alpha 4 is compatibility. Yeah, that's right. So I think I'm asking for compatibility. Will it be compatible 3 and 4? How many versions you will
I mean,
minor versions will be compatible, etc.
We deserve the right to do breaking changes between API releases, but we will document them as we did with the Alpha 2 to Alpha 3. So the book has this whole document for infrastructure providers, or actually any providers, that like it documents all the changes that we made from one version to another. And we'll do the same when we go from Alpha 3 to Alpha 4, but I cannot speak to that right now because we don't know what that entails yet.
Okay. No, the reason why is if you use Semver, which is the versioning, the major version only, like immutability to mutability, let's say. If that is going to be, that is a major one, I believe that cannot happen in minor versions. But in minor versions, if you keep compatibility, that will be great. But if not, then we'll have to see how we go about it as a user of cluster API.
I'll need to find the document, but like we adhere to Kubernetes compatibility promise. So yeah, like I will refer you to that one as a document. Yeah.
Sure. So that's fair. I think what you can do within your limits and what we can, as a consumer of this, how we'll use it. Yeah. Thank you.
Mike?
Oh, I just wanted to speak to what Prakash was talking about in terms of the strict Semver, following strict Semver. Like what I realized from looking at this project is even from the V1 Alpha 2 to V1 Alpha 3, I don't think we're following Semver the way that it's specified upstream. So I wouldn't expect that this to follow Semver as it's specified at semver.org. We're, like Vince said, we're following like the Kubernetes cadence with respect to versioning.
Thank you. Any other question, comments, concerns? Davis, so you raise your hand.
Sure. I'll go out on a limb and ask a question for a coworker of mine. We've been looking at the CAPI for OpenStack, and we're trying to figure out how to fill in the different options for that. So the first question is that an appropriate thing to bring up here? But the second is there a way to help automate getting the default values that you need in order to connect to an OpenStack?
So I'm not sure what you're asking. Like, so like for OpenStack, do we
there's a number of environment variables that you have to set to be able to connect to it. And some of them, as an OpenStack user, I'm not really familiar with what it's asking for.
I would refer for that. Like I would actually refer, unless like someone else like here knows the answer. Like I would refer you to the OpenStack provider. which
Yeah, and I
is
started
under
looking at the
Kubernetes.
code.
Yeah, I don't. I think like they did release like Alpha 3 like not long ago. So I think maybe you're talking about this.
Yeah, actually, if you go, let's see, was it up or down from there? There's a part where it tells you to run a generate script. Yeah. Yeah, so it's around in there. I looked at the configuration.md as it says in the bottom of that section, but it doesn't really tell you how to find the values for the variables, and the environment variables are different than this configuration, so it wasn't quite it. But
so for the environment variables, like we have like sort of a convention. So if you look at the cluster template or cluster template without LB here, so if you download this, you will find in here that there will be environment variables. So if they're not documented, I would say like let's open an issue and like make sure that like they're documented in here, because I'm quite sure that the other providers are documented. So like for example, AWS, Azure, etc. But yeah, so like that's like where it gets the environment variables. It's in this cluster template. So if you open it up and like look it up at the environment variables, you probably find the one that you need. But my first suggestion is to actually like open an issue and make sure that we update the quick start.
cool, thank you. We'll keep going.
And definitely feel free to reach out in Slack, Daniel.
Yeah, Chang had posted something in Slack yesterday, but we'll keep asking.
Sounds good.
Am I up?
Go ahead.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I forgot to ask. So in the blog post, there are a few places where where we thank they're like major contributors to some of the big features. I wrote those sort of from my perspective or my memory. If you feel that you should be included in those call outs, please you can ping me on Slack privately if you want. I just want to make sure that I haven't forgotten or excluded anyone. So yeah, please let me know, and I'll post that on the Slack channel as well. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other question, topic before we move on to issue triage? I don't see any hand raised, so let's look at the issue with no milestone. Add status or condition metadata to machine health checks. I think we can probably tie this up with the condition work potentially. What do you think, Fabrizio? Like, I see you on this one.
Yeah, from the description, this is slightly different because the request is to have something that shows you what the machine health check is health checking. So it is something slightly different, but it makes sense to consider in the same work.
Sounds good. There was another comment in another, I forget where it was, but about machine health checks to apply a condition to a machine later that says like this machine is unhealthy. So maybe I can cross-link that to here later. Just wanted to let you know. Okay, cap the error running cluster kernel init to transform ephemeral cluster to management cluster. This seems like a support issue. Does anybody want to look at this? Next. not tried this with the Docker cluster, but workload cluster can stuck in provisioning phase, Docker mech. This seems like almost related. Some help on this Docker issues. Cluster cuddle config provider fails to show AWS info. So when missing the credential, it asks for the value to be set. So that for you on the call, and Fabrizio, any thoughts on this one?
I don't understand the request here, because the variable should be provided. Otherwise, the installation will fail.
Yeah, I would agree. Sort of like, do you think we can close this? I think, like, I mean, worst case, like, you can just set it to an empty variable, or like if you want to just see the configuration. In alternative, like, I mean, we could have a, like, I don't know, a dry run option that like prints it out, but I think that's just like what you would download, right?
No, there is a list option flag, so you can run cluster cuddle config provider -- list option that inform you to the variable that are included, that should be provided to the template, but then you have to provide the template in order to get the template compiled.
Okay, so I think we probably close this one. I'm gonna, like, we expect variables to be present to generate.
And we're going to be removing the need for that anyway in Kappa at some point. There's a proposal to do the multi-tenancy such you don't have to provide it up front.
Okay, that's good to hear. So no more base64 encoded credentials in there?
That's the plan.
That's great. Sounds good to me. Test the end-to-end can leak kind cluster. Cecile?
Sorry, took a while to find the raise hand button, but if you can just come back to the other issue. I do get the point of the issue, because what's confusing is that when you do cluster cuddle config provider, and the same thing applies with Azure as well, all you get as info for variables are those variables. So it's kind of like you have to set them to be able to know which ones you need. So it doesn't really make sense. The output you get is variables, and then you get all the base64 encoded variable names. If that makes sense.
I can.
Go ahead.
There is the issue about templating, where basically we are discussing how to improve the user experience around variable substitution, variable validation, and so on and so forth. So I suggest to discuss this point there. For what is implemented now, which is really simple or really basic, if we follow the quick start, so variable are set in advance, the variable substitution happens. Otherwise, there is no alternative that give an error, or I don't see another alternative.
Yeah, I guess it'd be nice to be able to somehow now know like what variables you need to set without needing to like do trial and error and get an error for missing variables every time.
I think there is a command.
There is a flag for doing that. I will post in the document.
Then maybe that's what's missing here.
Could be maybe this is a doc issue, or yeah. feel free to reopen it and give your thoughts. And I think so.
Okay,
The last
thanks.
one is test CAPT end-to-end can leak kind clusters. Ben, are you on the call? No. I think this is probably worthwhile to tackle, given that like we're focusing on end-to-end for this month. So like this is probably like a good improvement, but I'm gonna put priority important long-term for now, given that we're also changing or like adding more stuff to the end-to-end framework and things like that. Help on it as well, so that if anybody wants to work on it. As a reminder, we also have got first issue help wanted. So like if you're looking to for something to do, feel free to kind of like pick something from the backlog. And yeah, like that's it, Mike.
One of the issues you covered early on there was like, I think it's actually a docs issue. And I think, that the person who added that, I think, was asking questions in chat the other day, and I'm looking at our docs, and I think that's a non-issue. I think we can actually close it. I was just trying to put a link there.
Is this CAPT?
This one about CAPT error running cluster cuddle in it. I'll add this. Sorry about the keyboard noises. At the end of this issue, it says that this was solved by changing the path to where the Docker provider stuff was, and they were suggesting putting that, changing our docs, I guess. But it's looking at the docs that's already in there the way this is being requested. So
okay. I think then in that case we can do way more evidence. And it's already next, so like if we don't hear back, we can just close it, or the person can close it. Thank you though for that. Awesome. Any last minute group topics, or can give you 24 minutes back? All right. Well, thank you all, and happy Wednesday.
thanks. Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.